Welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. I hope everyone had a splendiferous week. I did. It was a week of testing at school. So that means we're winding down. We have about 5 weeks left of school, which is pretty cool. A couple months off, and then it all starts over again. I've got a bunch of just random stuff to go over with you tonight because I really felt the need to pad out this episode. I didn't want to just record a 15-minute show, and I decided to fill it up with stuff just to make it seem like my life is important and that I'm doing things when I'm really not. So I'm going to kind of be all over the place. Now, one of the reasons why I have a lot of filler in this episode is because I didn't watch any movies this week. I spent a lot of time doing puzzles, and I'm just on a puzzle kick right now. So I'm going to show you the two puzzles that I worked on. I actually did this puzzle, which is Wayne Thiebaud. Oh, I was going to look up some more of his artwork and show it, and I forgot. So anyways, Wayne Thiebaud, it was funny because I sent a friend of mine this picture, and she's like, oh, I saw an art exhibit of his, and he does a lot of cakes and pies too. And she sent me a picture of a postcard that she has hanging up, and it was of pies, and I wanted to show that. And then when I read the back, on these puzzles, it's pretty cool. The pomegranate puzzles, because they talk about the artist and what they've done, and it says he's in addition to landscapes, the artist paints cakes, pies, and other confections. So let me talk about this puzzle. This puzzle was a lot of fun, but as you could probably tell, I knew right off the bat that this was going to be the most difficult, because basically you lay out the pieces and you have to go piece by piece, and you lay them out by shape, and you go piece by piece, row by row, and you just fill it in. So I actually filmed myself doing this, but I don't have the right setup. It was all messed up, so I still can't do this. That company still hasn't sent me the screws for my puzzle table. And I'm probably going to have to just go to the hardware store and buy some, which, I shouldn't have to do that. When you buy something, it should come with all the pieces, but what am I going to do? I'm letting a couple of screws hold me back from accomplishing my dreams. All right. And then the rest of the painting was, or the puzzle was so much fun. I enjoyed putting this puzzle together. I will show you what it looks like finished. I'm actually gluing it right now, and I have my the big portfolio to show you, but I decided not to hold it up. I'm actually going to enfold it into another video. I'm going to take a small video of me showing it off, and I'll embed that in a different video. So let's see if I actually have. Oh, I didn't port it over. It's just like me. Oh, no, I did. Here it is. So here's a picture of the puzzle completed. I know you can't get the size of it, but you can, you can see the puzzle shapes. And I don't know. It was just a really, really fun puzzle. And every time I would send pictures of this puzzle to people, they were like, wow, it just looked weird. Like the perspective of it was all off because it wasn't finished, and like shapes were dominating other parts, and it looked like, things were sliding and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, fun. It was a lot of fun doing that puzzle. I really enjoyed it. And so after I finished that one yesterday, I went ahead and started this. So I really think they're called gradient puzzles. I really think these gradient puzzles are cool, and this is the first one I'm trying, and I took the easy way out, because this one, as you can see, is not just color, but also there are lines like a maze, and that really helps when you put together the puzzle. It comes with this little sheet. Now I'm doing this puzzle right now, like I said, and I've basically only done up to here, and I'm going line by line, and you have to take each piece and look at the color on each. And you have to see where the darker part is and where the lighter part is, and that's how you determine where they go. And yeah, like I said, I did the outline, and I did about 3 lines, and I still have all of this to go. But I'm actually really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. So let's see if I have a picture of my progress. Yes, here it is. So this is where I'm at right now. You can see the outline of the whole puzzle, and you can see that I've gone, like line by line down here. So yeah, there it is. That's the puzzle. And I think I had another puzzle. Oh, I took a picture like this just so you can see all the wacky pieces and the colors. And I don't know. What do you think about gradient puzzles? I'm kind of working my way up because I took the easy way out, but I'm definitely going to buy more gradient puzzles. I just find that color fascinating, and I think they're beautiful to look at. Any more puzzles to talk about? No. Now, I've got a lot to talk about. Like I said, I've got 2 TV show programs. I've got a book that I'm going to go in depth in, and I'll just say what it is now. It's Dune House Carino. I'm going to review it, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to go more in depth because Sleepy asked me a little bit about these books, and so I want to take a little bit of time to talk about them. But I know that that's not for everyone, so that's why I'll leave the geek. This is a geek alert. So I'm going to leave the geek talk for the very end. Although, if you do want to stick around for it, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to try to explain it in kind of like overarching arcs without giving away a lot of detail. But give my opinion on why I think that these books should be read. Or in my case, listened to. I've got a couple of graphic novels to talk about. I've got some art exhibits to talk about. So, I mean, like, yeah, this is going to be fun. I told you I'm going to pad this out. But I want to start with, I was on Facebook a lot, I guess, this week. And I usually will be on Facebook for a while, and then I'll go like months without looking at it, and then I'll start it up. But every time I get on, I just start laughing at the trends. I don't know how, but I got on this trend of children's books where they've just made them raunchy, and I don't know why, but they are cracking me up, and I'm going to show you some. And in between, I've got some other stuff. So first, we're going to start with this picture, which totally cracked me up because of course it's a baby's leg, but just the placement of that is, when you first see it, you see something else. But one more time. Oh, that picture is hilarious. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that people post on Facebook that I see. And like this one, sorry kid, I'm the ether bunny. Okay, so I laughed a lot when I first saw it, but I mean, maybe it's not that funny, but I thought it was funny. Oh, here's another one. My pretty Glenn Danzig. Look at this doll. Oh, my pretty Glenn Danzig. Oh, gosh. Okay. Sorry, there is going to be some swaying here. So we've got these old book covers, right? Which I love. I love these vintage book covers. And then they put some naughty words on there. Back the fuck up, you little bitch ass. Oh, I don't know why these things crack me up. Back the fuck up, you little bitch ass bunny. Oh, okay. And this one is just a cartoon that I think is pretty funny, but it's going to only appeal to a certain population, I guess. Listen, I'm not going to keep letting you in and out all day. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm the only one laughing, but I think these are pretty funny. Oh, this one. So there's a sign that says, "This corner available." And then someone cheekily wrote, "Oh, look, your mom quit her job." And the bad thing about it is, since I don't go on Facebook so often, like I show my husband some of these things. He's like, I saw that months ago. So yeah, you probably all seen these. But I'm still showing it off. Okay, here we go. Here we have the next book in the series, and the title is "I'm a nasty ass little peg and I'm hot as fuck." Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble for all this swearing. Here we have this cover, and the title of the book is "A Baby's Downward Spiral." I already fucking hate everything and everyone. Oh Lord. Okay, the next one. Oh, we've got what is it, Carolyn Keene? By the way, I love these covers on these books. I need an art book of just all of the covers to the Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. Well, anyways, this is a Nancy Drew, and it's called the Haunted Hand Job. Okay, next. I know I feel bad because this type of comedy isn't for everyone, so sorry if you're suffering through this. I will get on to something else. Here we have a duck with a bucket, and it says, "A bucket for your bullshit." Okay. I think I only have one more, and then we're gonna go on to something else. Does my wet and fluffy bunny booty tempt you, Mr. Fox? And he says, marginally. Okay, enough children's books with naughty titles. I don't know why. I think those are hilarious. Now, I wanna talk about a trend that I see on this app that I'm using, and I always forget the name of the app. It's called not Whatnot. No, it's anyways, it's a shopping app where people post stuff that they're going that they want to sell in their neighborhood, right? And so my trend is going to be like, what are they thinking, right? These people put things on that they think are worth millions of dollars, and they're crap. Like, look at this Beatles 65 album, and they want $60. Like, honestly, I wouldn't even want that in my collection. I wouldn't even pay $3 for that. $60 for that trash? Like that? No. Then they have the next one, the Beatles' second album. Look at it. It's all trashed. And again, they want $60 for that. Like, who's going to pay that much for that? And if you do, like, sorry for you. Okay. Now, this one I can't believe. So here we have the Cormac McCarthy, The Modern Library, first hardcover. Number one, I don't think that's the first hardcover because it's a Modern Library, and that wasn't first put out in that. So it's Blood Meridian, which is, a great book. And somehow they think that this book is worth $500. What? I think I have that book, and I probably paid $10. Like, that's ridiculous. $500 for that? Like, these people are just... Okay, if I'm wrong and it's actually worth that, please put that in the comments because I don't get it. And even if it were worth that much, I'm not paying it. Let's see. Was there something else? Oh, yeah, this. So here we have someone trying to sell this box of vinyl records for $400. That little paltry box, and already you can see that these are dollar records. Like, you could just tell. And they're all beat up and nasty. And so there are 4 pictures, and one of them, this is Sinatra, which I think I have that one. But these are the records you get for $400. So here's one, the 101 Strings million seller country hits. It's even got hella ringwear, and I mean that's not even a dollar album. That's a 50-cent album, and I mean, no offense to Chicago, but I think I have this album and I paid $1. Like, they want $400 for this group of records? And then Kansas, Left Overture. I had 2 copies of that and I had to give one away, and they were both in really good condition. And this person wants $7.95 for it. Like, I'm going to drive all the way to your house to buy this album for $7.95. What? That makes no sense to me. So anyways, there are so many people on Whatnot. It's not called Whatnot, is it? No, Whatnot is where you do your bidding. I can't remember what it's called. But they post that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, I don't get it. Sorry if you're overseas and you don't know American dollars, but all those prices were really high for something that was really pretty much garbage. Not that the quality is garbage. It's just like Chicago, you could buy that for $1. I'm sorry. All right. I'm going to talk about 2 Doctor Who episodes. Now, those were the only TV that I watched. Now, the first one was called Boom. And this is about the Doctor appears on a planet where it's war, and it's just war. That's all they do. That's their business. That's everything. It's company-sponsored war. And he steps on a landmine, and the whole episode is if he steps off this landmine or puts too much pressure on it, it will explode. And because of his body chemistry, it will take out half of the planet when he explodes. So this episode was just okay for me. It was very typical, not bad. There was a machine there that was like an ambulance, but it actually administered death. And this it really reminded me of the Daleks. And then the next episode I watched was called 73 Yards. And this one was a complete 180. This is why I sit through all these mediocre episodes of Doctor Who. This episode was phenomenal. Yes, it has plot holes and there are things wrong with it, but this was one of those episodes that I would say everybody should watch. If you don't like Doctor Who, this is an episode you should watch. And the good thing about it is it's a Doctor Who-less episode. He's at the very beginning, the very end, he disappears, and it's just his companion dealing with the fallout. And it's not a time travel episode, but it's an overtime episode. This is one of these episodes, man, that I so enjoyed. So the Doctor and his companion are in Scotland, I believe, and they step on one of these like fairy circles, and the Doctor disappears. And she was like, "Oh, what happened to him?" And but the telephone booth or box is still there, but he's just gone, and she can't get back inside. And she notices that there is a woman. And later she finds out that the woman is standing 73 yards away, and she stays there permanently. No matter where she goes, that woman follows her. If she runs toward the woman keeps a distance of 73 yards. And the woman is signing something to her and trying to tell her something. And I'm not going to give away more. I'm not going to talk on and on about this, but this was a really, really good episode. Yes, if you really want to, you can poke holes in it. There are better episodes, but this one hit me like I didn't know it was coming, and I was like, boom, it was powerful. I guessed the ending. It still was powerful. Just, I feel, one of the best Doctor Who episodes out there. It's up there with that one with the angels, the stone angels. That one was really cool. There's a couple of episodes that I don't know if they make it a point each season to remove the Doctor somehow and the companion has to do things on their own, because I think there's a bunch of these types of episodes, and I really, really enjoyed this. Maybe I enjoyed it so much because the Doctor wasn't there. The Doctor, the current Doctor isn't bad, but I think I'm taking a little while to get used to him. I do like the companion, though. And again, 73 yards. is one of these Doctor Who episodes you've got to watch. So if you have access, watch it. And if you've never watched a Doctor Who episode, I would really, really be interested for you to watch this one episode. Uh, and I think it's episode 5 of the last season. Watch this one episode and then write in the comments what you think. Maybe this show still isn't for you, but I think there are some really, really good Doctor Who episodes that can really hook you in. And this is one of them. This is such a good episode. Okay, so I'm going to talk about just a couple more things, but I think they're going to be a little bit lengthy. So I'll move on to graphic novels. Oh, I don't think I need my iPad for this part. So I'm going to talk about the graphic novels that I bought last week. They came in the mail, and I'm going to talk about these because I decided, sitting here looking at them, I've thought this before. I'm like, you can't just let these graphic novels keep piling up. You've got to start reading them. And so I figured if I read more than I buy each month, I can get caught up. And so I was in the middle of 2, and I went ahead and finished those. And I wanted to finish 3 that I had bought, but I only got through 2, and I started the 3rd one. So I'm going to talk about them. So the first one, I'm moving my camera around. So the first one is this Ultimate Spider-Man. So this is the first in the Marvel Epic Collection with a red spine. And I already ordered this one, so I'm waiting for this one to come. So I decided I really wanted to read it. I thought it would be good. This is a highly acclaimed run. I have read some of the Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man, and those were phenomenal. And they were written by Bendis. And so I thought, this is going to be really good. And it was. This was really, really good. Way better than I thought it would be. Yeah. The one thing that I thought was going to hold me back was the art. I'm not a big fan of Bagley art. To me, it just seems it's for a younger crowd. But I was enjoying this, especially for what it is, because it's the umpteenth retelling of the Spider-Man origin. But it was done in such a way that I really enjoyed it. Now, this is supposedly taking place on a different Earth, so things are slightly different. Now, in this... Oh, also, this Epic Collection is a lot thinner than most Epic Collections. This only has 13 issues. But I'm going to say that this is worth buying. This one costs $40 US, 50 Canadian. But as Larry says, you'd be a chump to pay that because you can get it online much cheaper. So, Ultimate Spider-Man. This covers his origin, the Green Goblin's origin and their first fight. The Enforcers, Electro, and Kingpin, they're all wrapped up together. Of course, his private life with Uncle Ben and his learning his, great responsibility. Aunt May, his relationship with Aunt May and Mary Jane. There's no Gwen Stacy in this, and so far. And his, what's going on with him at school, and then later him working at the Daily Bugle, not the Daily Planet. Daily Planet is Superman. Daily Bugle is Spider-Man. Okay, and the gang there, J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie Robertson. No, not Robbie Robertson. Isn't that the guy in the band? Joe Robertson? I can't remember his name, but it's Robertson something. Okay, so all those people at work. Now I'm going to show you some of the art. Like I said, I'm going to recommend this. I think it's worth reading, and I'm very looking forward to the next. In fact, as soon as I was done with this, I looked at the solicitation of when the next part will come out, and it probably isn't coming out for over a year. So I'm gonna just show off a little bit of art. Now, of course, we're gonna get the origin where Peter is bitten by the spider, and again, I just think that art is, for me, serviceable. If you're a 90s kid, you probably really like this art. Here we're going to continue with Peter and the origin of him being bitten by the spider and basically being poisoned and fainting. At the end, you're going to see him, discovering his powers, and we're getting a splash page of that. The covers are very interesting for these issues. The covers are actually different than the interior art. They're nice. So here is a splash page of Peter. He fell asleep in class. He has a dream, and because of his powers, he smashes that desk. That one's called Growing Pains. Here he is. Of course, you know, he's trying to earn some money with his powers, and he's taking on wrestlers. Although in here they make it a point to show us that these the wrestling matches are rigged. Here is a double page spread of where Uncle Ben dies, and this one in this universe it actually happens in their home. Now here's an example of the art which made me cringe. This is a panel of Peter dancing in his underwear, with his shirt riding up. I don't know. It just looks really, really bad. And I mean, I guess for a teen, I would recommend these stories for younger readers. Even as an older reader, I dug them, but they would really be good for bringing in younger readers. And I mean, they did that again with Miles, and I mean, those issues are amazing. Here is a full page where he first encounters the Green Goblin, who is gigantic compared to him. That's actually a pretty cool piece of art. And here we have Green Goblin's face, so he's literally a goblin. And here's the cover of when the Green Goblin is first appearing, and I actually really like that cover art. Just a couple more. Here we have the Kingpin menacing Spider-Man. And the Kingpin is also gigantic in this. And then here's the cover of Electro. Of everything in this, I did not like how they refashioned Electro. I really like Electro's green and yellow outfit. And so here he's purple with just like an electric bolt carved out of his clothing. Yeah, I don't know. I was just underwhelmed with Electro. And in the back here, you're going to get a lot of like, you know, some extras of the drawing process. And the very end of this is, yeah, Doc Ock. Doc Ock is coming. So it ends with next issue, Doc Ock. All right. So despite my not loving the art, this flowed. It was a really fun read. I would recommend this a lot. All right. The next one I'm going to talk about is one that I had started reading, and I had gotten halfway through it, and I never finished it. So that one, I'm rearranging books. And that one is going to be another thin one, which is the Planet of the Apes Adventures. Now, this is a Marvel Epic Collection, but this one has a brown spine. This is very unusual because almost all of them have black spines, and now they're starting the new set with the different color spines. And this was the only one that I can think of that had a brown spine. And this one is Adventures on the Planet of the Apes, but they changed the title to call it Planet of the Apes Adventures. I guess people looking for this would naturally look under Planet of the Apes and not under A. And so that might be possibly why. I know that I've thought about that when I get a new Planet of the Apes comic. I really want to go for my P section, and then I look and there's none there, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Adventures on the Planet of the Apes. So this is the original Marvel years, the first 11 issues. There was only 11 issues. And this covers the two movies 1 and 2. And as adaptations go, they were fine. I've seen both movies, and I've seen them recently. So all of this was, I think that's maybe why I stalled reading it the first time, because it was just a rehash of the movie. Now, both movies. What I will say is that I think the creative team changed from movie to movie in this. So initially we have, I think I wrote it down, George Tuska as the artist. And then in the second part of the series, or in the second movie, we have Alfredo Alcala art. and you can totally tell that there's a stylistic change. I liked both. The George Tuska art is kind of more cartoony-ish, and then the Alfredo Alcala, for example, here's an example of the Alcala art. And it's more like the magazines, I would say. So I'm going to go ahead and show off how both artists tackle the same scene. So here is that iconic moment when they see the Statue of Liberty. And you can see it's done from a different angle. In the movie, it's sticking up, I believe, up out of the shore, but it's like kind of from here up, and waves are crashing against it. Here it's buried in the sand. I could be wrong about that, but let's go ahead and look at the art, because we're going to compare artists. I really think that's a nice piece of art. And then we're going to go ahead and get the splash page from Alfredo Alcala. And also, this is very good, but look, this seems a little bit more realistic, right? How it's covered in gunk and mud and, erosion over time. But yeah, so we have the two different artists. For some reason, though, I chose to show off more of the Alcala art. So I'm going to go... Oh, wait. No, this one I'm showing off because we have... I think they had different people working on the covers. But here is clearly a Gil Kane cover art. Oh, and by the way, Taylor and the other guy who shows up in the second movie, they change their looks a lot. Well, mostly Taylor. He's got like 2 or 3 different looks in these books. So here's an example of how Alcala brings, drama and emotion. That's a pretty cool panel right there. And this is where this guy discovers he's actually on Earth, not because of the Statue of Liberty, but because he's in a subway station that he knows. If you know the movie, then you know that. Again, here's why not show off this really cool cover art. And I think I have 2 more to show. So here's a splash page of them in the underground city. And finally, this was my favorite splash page of all, and I believe it's by Alcala. And I just, not only do I like the yellow background, but I like the lettering. And I think that really adds to this. It's a pretty cool splash page. The Hell of Holocaust. All right, so that was the Planet of the Apes adventures. And do I recommend this? It's not essential. It's the same as the movie and the book. And it's the same as both movies. But it was fun. I think if you're a fan of 70s Marvel, then you kind of want to have these things, even though all they do is novelize a movie. I don't know, what would you say? Comicize a movie? Illustrate a movie, maybe? All right. The next one was a total surprise for me, and that is Batgirl, DC Finest. Now, I don't know if you remember, but last week I was like, oh, I think this was a mistake. It's too modern. I shouldn't have bought it. I don't have shelf space. Boy, was I wrong. I was looking at the art and I'm like, oh, this art is awful. This was phenomenal. I loved it so much. And one of the reasons I loved it is because it's a very visual way to tell a story. In many parts, there's not a lot of dialogue. Because first of all, I had to look up who she was because I was confused. There's Oracle, who is the Batgirl who had her spine broken by the Joker. So she's in this, and she's one of Batgirl's mentors. But I didn't know who she was. Like, nothing about her rang a bell. This is my first encounter with this Batgirl, and I don't even know if she's in the modern continuity. Because in the New 52... I don't remember seeing this incarnation of Batgirl. So this is a young child who was trained and tortured to become what she is, and she then becomes a acolyte of Batman, and he's teaching her how to deal with her abilities, and she does have a heightened sense. So because she was kept mute as a child, there's like the spider right here hanging. Oh my gosh, you probably can't see that. It's not in front of the, where is he? He went he's like hanging right down in front of the screen. Tiny spider. Sorry about that. So he's taking care of this girl who was pretty much abused her whole life, but she has a heightened sense because she was kept mute. And so in the story, she actually doesn't talk much because she's not used to talking. So whenever she talks, it's very sparingly. But she has this sense of watching people, and she knows what they can do slightly right before they do it. It's almost like Taskmaster. And so she can react based on body cues because her heightened senses of that. Okay, so if you buy all that, whatever. It's just... So the strength of this is, first of all, there's that spider. He's coming back. So the strength of this is that it's kind of unique in that you will go many pages without any dialogue. And the art is a little bit muddy in such a way that you will have to glance at it a couple times to figure out exactly what's going on. Why? Because you're used to speeding through because you're not reading anything. You're just looking at the image and you're going through the story. And then all of a sudden you'll be a couple panels and you'll be like, wait, exactly what's going on? And so you back up, you slow down, and you look for details. And this happens quite often. And you would think that'd be annoying, but it isn't. It really helps you appreciate the storytelling aspect of this. And whereas I'm not a fan of the art still, I really appreciate what they did in this. So, for example, this is Batgirl numbers 7 through 27, Superboy 85, and Superboy 63. Oh, and that reminds me, there's a bunch of issues spread out where they're doing crossovers, and those were always my least favorite because it broke the style of what was going on. She would have to interact with the, like, Superboy in one story, Robin in another, Supergirl, and it just kind of broke the flow of what this artistic team were doing. And they weren't bad issues, but it just took away from that style. So here we have a really cool cover of, I like the colors. Now, so here's another thing about this. Seeing these issues on the shelf, just picking them up and going through them, I would never buy one of these. The art looks really bad to me. The covers aren't that great. But I'm so glad that I actually took the time to read this because it was really that good. So here is another piece that shows some of the art. And I mean, I'm kind of showing off this art to show you why I didn't think it was that good. But in some parts it is. Like, that cover is okay, right? I love the backgrounds. It's just Batgirl herself. And let's go on to this one. All right. I decided to kind of put my money where my mouth is, and I wanted to go through this one issue to show you what I'm talking about. And this is called Nobody Dies Tonight. That's the cover. And it actually takes 3 scenes from the comic from different points, and it tells a visual story through the cover, although you don't know what it's talking about yet. So the very first panel, the page, we have someone being murdered. And there's no dialogue except someone gurgling, right, as they're being killed. Then we jump to the prison. So obviously the person has been caught and is on death row. There's a priest, and the person is getting ready for his execution. Now there is, we don't know who this person is yet, but we find out later in the story in a dramatic way. There is some dialogue because there are news teams there, but that's basically it, the dialogue. And then we come to Batgirl. And Batgirl is fighting with someone, and it's all fight scene. You have to, like, this is what I'm talking about, how it's, like, muddled. You have to, like, kind of really look at the details to find out what's going on. So she's fighting someone, and she makes a decision that in this fight that she has, that nobody is going to die tonight. And then she sees about the death row inmate, and she since she's made a decision, she's going to stick by it. And so she's going to make sure that that guy doesn't die. And so then we have a couple more panel pages where we're going through the story. Look, no dialogue. And she breaks into, like, here she is breaking into the penitentiary. Now, sorry, I know, like, going through a comic like this and telling the story, that's not what I normally do, but I just want to give you a sense of how this artistic team is telling a story. Here's another 2 pages, and you just kind of fly through them as you're going along, and there's not much dialogue there. It's just the story is flowing. Here's another 2 pages where there's no dialogue except for, the last rites being given, or, the final whatever for the person being executed. And then, she dramatically breaks in and takes, and there are another 2 pages without any dialogue. So you're just kind of skimming along, looking at the action. And then we have another page and a half where there's no dialogue. And then we find out who this woman is. And she, after she's broken this guy out, she's like, that was my baby, he killed, and you need to put him back. And so Batgirl has to make a decision. I won't spoil it for you, but she does. I have to cover up this page so I don't reveal the ending. But she remembers a scene from her childhood when she was forced to kill somebody. And this helps her make her decision. Is she going to let him live like she's vowed, or is she going to respect the wishes of the woman whose daughter was brutally murdered? And then we have the final page, which the only dialogue we have, I can't say because that would reveal it. So there is some dialogue on the last page. All right. The reason I did that is, I hope I already told you why. Normally I don't go through whole comics like that and talk about it. But I wanted you to see how this storytelling plays out. How they go panel by panel, page by page. And it's just like you're going through this comic without much dialogue. And for most of this graphic novel, that's the way it is. And so when you think about it, for a visual medium like this, it's really cool and refreshing because it really relies on the visuals more so than the dialogue. I'm going to show you some, for example, this is a art of Batgirl, and then there's that cover. And I think I was warming up to the art by the end. I was certainly appreciating the art as part of this team to tell the story. I'm still not going to say this is my favorite art ever, but I was won over. This is worth buying. This is $40 in the US, $54 in Canada. But Larry, you tell him, you're a chump if you pay that much. This is worth buying. If anybody's read that one and would like to comment, like, I was so surprised that I really, really enjoyed that. I was totally expecting not to. I thought it would just be modern junk, and it wasn't. Okay. The almost final one is the Aliens, the original years from Dark Horse, and this is 1988 to 1990. Now, this is one that I thought I would absolutely love, and I was just meh. So I appreciated what they were doing. They took the story after the first Alien, and they ran with it. There's 3 comic miniseries plus an extra part from Dark Horse Presents. And I actually really liked the Dark Horse Presents one better, and I'm going to tell you why. I think they're sticking to the characters of Ripley and Newt, and Hicks held them back. I'm hoping that in the second set of this, which I have, that they get away from those characters and they start telling some other stories. And in so many ways, a lot of the story was just rehashed from the movies. It was like very the same kind of ground, although they did go different places. There's this cult that worships the aliens and accepts them in, taking their I hate saying it, but that's how they use it, taking their seed to become holier. And I mean, there were some differences, but there was a lot of the same. The companies on Earth want the aliens, to become a war machine, and then and a lot of this, the Earth has already taken over. They try to give the alien queen these like telepathic and superhuman like abilities, but along the way, some of the cover art on this is phenomenal. Like the cover art is where you really shine with these. And even when they're not painted like that, the aliens are just such a cool idea that they really are creepy, and an artist can really do a lot with this. Now, each miniseries had a different creative team, and I think the first two had maybe the same team, but then the third one was a total stylistic change. Now, I'm a Sam Keith. I appreciate Sam Keith art, I really do, but his interiors for this, for the third set, which was Aliens Earth War, was very hit and miss. Like there were some panels like this one I just thought were awful, but then you get other panels where the art was like up to Sam Keith's caliber. And I'm trying to find one of those right now. Sorry, I should have put in a little marker, right? But I do want to show off some really cool Sam Keith art. Okay, so I mean, that's a pretty cool layout there. So yeah, I'm gonna say with Sam Keith doing the art, it was very, very hit and miss for me. Yeah, sorry, I can't find one, so I'm just gonna go ahead and move on. I should have prepared that in advance. So here's an example of, I think that's Ripley fighting against the Queen. It's just, I don't know, it's not up to par. So yeah, this is not essential. I'm hoping the second one isn't. If you're on the fence, if you're a big Aliens fan, you should read these comics. And you have to remember that they're the early ones. They're certainly not horrible. I did enjoy them, but they're not something that I could highly recommend. And then finally, I started this Wolverine, and I was joking about how bad that art is. I'm going to have to say that I was enjoying this. I'm only like 3 issues in. I'm going to review this one next week. And I have to put my, what do I have to say? I have to put my foot in my mouth, because this is something else that I'm liking the art inside too. And yeah, I'm enjoying this. So can't wait to review that. All right. Oh my God, we're at 48 minutes. And I have 2 more big things to talk about. Oh, I got these in the mail. So here are some Michael Shane mysteries. So we're talking about the artist who recently died, and I can't remember his name, but I do have an art book coming in the mail. But these are earlier editions than those. And we have Dividend on Death, and these are Dell books. Now this book was, I believe it's the first one in the series. I'm so glad to have this one. And I think this was printed in 1939. I think this is the original one. And it's so cool to have this original, but I need to research it. I honestly do. And I want to read you the first line, because it's like the first line of the first book. Excuse me. The girl who faced Michael Shane in his downtown Miami apartment was beautiful, but too unblemished to interest Shane particularly. That is awesome. He only wants women who have scars or have some kind of beat up, whatever. I don't know, but I didn't show the other ones. So then the next one is The Corpse Came Calling. God, that spider is still there. Counterfeit Wife. And, I showed Dividend on Death. Oh, the fourth one is Dead Man's Diary. I hope that doesn't say dairy. Yeah, diary. And Dinner at Dupre's. Oh, maybe this is 2 in 1. So, fun. I'm actually really looking forward to reading this. I wanted to read it for today, but I just got bogged down in puzzles. Okay, 2 more things. I hope I'm not boring you yet. There is a coworker at work, and she saw how much I liked puzzles, so she brings me the New York Times puzzles. And so after, recently I said to her, hey, if you don't mind, will you bring me the art section too? I love that. And she's like, oh, fine. And so this was the first one she bought me. And so this one is New York Times Museums. And this is from Sunday, April 27th. And so I picked a couple of things from here to go over. Now, the first one is this, which is, I'll get to that in a bit. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But when I opened it up, we've got this article about Miss Chief makes her mark. Miss Chief. And I was like, what? I have to read about this. So we basically have, I have to show this up close. So when you read the article, you have this picture and you see someone in full, like, it looks like a man in full drag on like a boat. And, it's very reminiscent of some paintings. And that's what this person does. Takes Native American ideas and puts them in with other ideas to have us look at history from a different angle. And I have to tell you, I was quite fascinated. I wish I were in New York and I could go see this exhibit because I would be there. So I have to show you some pictures of Miss Chief. Now, his name is Kent Monkman, and I don't know if he likes to be he or she. So I'll just say he. Sorry if I do anything wrong there. So I got some more pictures. So this is... I thought I had more than that. No. So there was this one picture I really liked. So here is the artist in front of that painting in like a teepee dress. I don't know, but that's pretty awesome. I would have loved to have been at that speech. And then we have a couple others. Like, look at him flying through the air with those heels. I love it. I want that. I want him to put out a book of his art, and I'm going to buy it. And here is that same painting, but in a little bit more clear form. And if you could look, yeah, he's got those black heels on. It's just fascinating art. Not only is this person a great artist, I mean, look at that art style. It's beautiful. But he's got some really interesting ideas, plus the fact of all the drag, and yeah, I'm totally into it. And the historical aspect, I'm just going to read you a little bit of the article, or maybe not. I didn't highlight anything here. Yeah, his name is Miss Chief Eagle Testickle. So, a well-muscled, non-binary, and indigenous figure. She is a key presence. Sorry, it's she. So I have to say she. She is a key presence in Monkman's vision. Oh, no, I don't. That's just a character in his painting. History is painted. Kent Monkman, history is painted by the victors. Yeah. So I would absolutely love to go see Kent Monkman art. Now, as I keep going through this, I saw the next page, and I was like, you know what I thought when I saw that? That would be a great puzzle. Now, the next article in here was also fascinating. And there is an art exhibit about the history of school lunches. And it says every child needs a good school lunch. So there's a poster and there's some pictures. And I don't necessarily know if I'd really want to go see this exhibit, but the history behind it is fascinating. I'm just going to read you a couple of snippets from the article. It examines how this cornerstone of childhood became deeply intertwined with American politics, culture, and scientific progress. So this article points out how often that school lunch becomes politicized and throughout history. It's pretty fascinating. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., appointed Secretary of Health and Human Services by President Trump, promotes the removal of processed foods from school lunches. And I'm all for that. However, history shows that his isn't the first attempt to change what people eat. And that's where the problem comes when you try to get people to forcibly change what they want to eat. And that's where the problem comes in. In 1946, President Henry Truman signed the National School Lunch Act, authorizing the creation of the National School Lunch Program. 1946. Oh, where was it where they said, maybe it's over here. The National School Lunch Program is the longest running children's health program in U.S. history. In the 1960s, the civil rights movement drew attention to the fact that many poor children were still going hungry. The Black Panthers' free breakfast program helped fill the gap and put pressure on politicians. I just have like 3 more snippets to read. A table in the exhibition, piled with Spam TV dinners, bagged salad, and Cheetos, explained how military research into preservation caused iconic American foods. In 1973, the 1973 board game Super Sandwich tried to make nutrition fun, with players competing to collect foods that meet recommended dairy allowances. Like, what kind of game would that be? And I just had to look that up. So this game goes for like $50 on eBay. And this is what it looks like. Super Sandwich from 1973. And let me show you another. Dang, I had another picture of it and it's not there. Ooh, I'm slacking. Okay. Where is the quote about the sawdust? We always say, for less than what you would pay for a latte, schools have to serve a full meal. Yeah, I remember watching one of the Oscar-nominated shorts, and they were talking about that. No, there was one place in here where it talks about how initially they would put sawdust and formaldehyde in the milk to make it cheaper, and they would serve that to kids. Oh, wait, it's down here. Sorry, I skipped something. The exhibition opens with the 1800s as industrialization brings people to cities, far from the source of their food. Producers would cut corners, mixing wood shavings with cinnamon and chalk into flour. Probably the most notorious example was the dairy industry, which routinely added formaldehyde to milk to keep it from spoiling. And school medical inspectors found that children were severely undernourished. Philadelphia became one of the first cities to have a school lunch program, and it was led largely by women. Okay, yeah, like I said, I don't know if I would actually want to go see that exhibit, but it was a really interesting historical article. Oh, this one is for the Huntington, and I believe, I don't know if there's more than one Huntington, but there's one like about 15-20 minutes from my house. And these are notes from Octavia Butler for one of her novels. And there's a piece of art. And then look at that outdoor gate. I don't remember that. That's a beautiful gate. I wonder if that's new. Since this is already open, there was Ai Weiwei. So this is a sculpture artist, and I'm going to have to say this is where my bias comes in, because this is not something I'd want to see. I'm like, huh? There's a bunch of bicycles. So I think, that kind of, if I can do it, like, I think I could take a bunch of bicycles and glue them together. So I don't know. And I mean, he's got a bunch of rocks in the middle of the floor. And I don't know. Yeah, someone, if you want to say I'm ignorant, go ahead. Look at this. Sargent and Paris. Look at what a great ad that is at the Met. Okay, and so I'm going to go on my diatribe again about sculpture, like modern sculpture. Like, I don't know what this is, but I didn't even want to read the article. It's just, there's like rope and balls on the floor with like a big, I don't know, like, that's just not the art for me. I'm going to keep turning the page. Some really beautiful articles. So I really love the ads for this art. Like, I'd like to do that as a puzzle. Look at that. That is Rashid Johnson, A Poem for Deep Thinkers. I was actually looking at that and trying to come up with the poem. I actually see faces. A Poem for Deep Thinkers. That's a pretty cool art piece, actually. And I think I'm almost done with this. Oh, this is an old courthouse building near Gateway Arch National Park. I'm sorry, I'm not good. Where's it? St. Louis. So this is the old courthouse, and they restored. And I would just love to see all that art close up. So if I get to Gateway National Park, I'm going to have to go in there and remember to go in there and see that. Now, there's another exhibit at the Getty. Oh, wait. Is that this Getty? Oh, my God, it is. Through May 25th, I should go see this. Gustave Caillebotte, Painting Men. Well, the title got my interest, but that is a gorgeous piece of art. Painting Men. Oh, I have to go. Oh, and then Queer Lens, A History of Photography. Oh, I need to go. I need to get my butt to the Getty. I got to make sure I go to the right one. Okay, so this was the opening, the one that was on the front. And so this is a sculpture that you actually go inside of, and it looks gorgeous. And I just want to read one quote. It says, "Earlier this year, I was able to experience it myself in Schechter's home studio, and felt a curious combination of serenity and awe." That's a pretty interesting way to explain it or describe it. This is by design. It turns out radiance has a profound effect on human beings, something that medieval architects and glass artisans understood centuries ago. All right, I am almost done. I have to say that the New York Botanical Gardens had an ad, and it says Van Gogh's Flowers. And it's just I kind of like that ad. Just, hey, come and look at the flowers. It was a pretty innovative way of doing it. And that's it. Okay, so please tell me if you liked my going through the art in that or not. Because, if you want to encourage me to keep doing it, I will. And I've got just one more thing. So today, Donald Rex, I was at school and I opened up this picture and I was like, what the heck? And so he was like, look what I grabbed today. And I was like, that art is horrible. And he was like, to each his own. And I was just like, look at that. I don't know what you think about that cover. I actually do think it's beautiful art. It's really, really well done art. It is. But, I mean, just no. And look, her butt's exposed too. I need to cut my fingernails. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. So, yeah, Donald Rex, to each his own. I'd rather go see, what was it? Painting Man. That's what I want to go see. All right. And the last thing that I want to talk to you about, oh my God, I'm already talking an hour and I didn't even have anything to say today. So I want to talk about Dune House Carino. And if you don't want to hear me blather on about geek stuff, you don't like Dune, well then, this might be a place for you to jump off. But I am going to talk about this novel, and this was the third in a trilogy. And so this one is called Dune House Carino. And the first one was called Dune House Atreides. The second one was Dune House Harkonnen. And whereas each book kind of focuses on the house that it's dealing with, it's more like where it weaves a tapestry of a story over 3 books. That all the houses are intermingled. And you really, it's trying to show you all the events from about a generation and a half before Paul Atreides in Dune. We end the books with Paul being born as an infant. But there's so much leading up to that. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not going to spoil these books if you want to read them. I'm going to talk in generalities about the arcs. So I wanted to show a picture, which of course I didn't port over, that you're mainly dealing with those 3 houses. But you're also dealing with House Carino, which is the emperor's family. You're also dealing with the Bene Gesserit and the Space Guild. And the Space Guild were the most interesting to me. I really enjoyed those parts. So the question is, for these books, that Dune purists despise these books. I'll just get that out of the way. So many people online trash these books when you watch YouTube videos, and there are people who genuinely enjoy these books, and I think I'm among them. I enjoyed the Dune books, and I enjoyed these. Yes, the Dune books are better, but the Son and Bryan Sanderson, I think they do a really good job. And they create they give you insight into this world, and they do, I think, what fans like. They take stories and they expand and give them background and history. And as some people online say, you know what, you could just think of this as a what if and not as canon. Like, this is a possibility, and you can disregard it if you want to. And I think if you do that, you might enjoy these books. I think so. So you're going to have Paul's grandfather. It starts with Paul's grandfather. And you're going to have the Harkonnens, Baron Harkonnen, he's such an awesome villain, where I think we start off when he's very young. And we also got Raid Hotha, I forget that's his name, who is a despicable person, but we get his father and mother, and that's actually some really interesting parts about how ruthless Fade Rotha, I think that's his name, who is Baron Harkonnen's nephew, and the father of Fade Rotha is Baron Harkonnen's brother, and the brother wants to be peaceful, and he wants to just be left alone, but his son is just like the Baron, and that whole family dynamic, trying to be good amidst all this evil. That was a very interesting aspect to these books. You got some more insight into the Bene Gesserit program, and how the Bene Gesserits work, and how they have their genetic. So the Bene Gesserits have this system to find the Kwisatz Haderach, which, I don't say these words often, so I'm probably mispronouncing them. The Kwisatz Haderach, which is basically like the Christ, right? So, the Savior. And they have this genetic program set up to get that specific child. And you see their machinations. And I did mention in another video how they need Baron Harkonnen's bloodline. And Baron Harkonnen was this basically this warrior of a man. And then when you see him in the movies, he's this bloated thing that has to be carted around with these like suspensor belts. And we see what happens to him and why he becomes that way and how it's revenge for an act that he commits. And I found all of that quite fascinating. Like I said, I really enjoyed the Guild and how powerful they are. At one part in these books, they exert their power and they bring the galaxy to a standstill. That was pretty awesome. What am I leaving out? Oh, there's this whole part of Ix. Ix is the machine planet. And just with the Bene Gesserits and Ix, we're going to get more books by them about each of those with the Butlerian Jihad. And then there's a couple books about the rise of the Bene Gesserit. I already have the Butlerian Jihad, which is the next book, which goes back in time. So I'm looking forward to reading that. But you get there is a hostile takeover of the planet Ix. We see some people are left behind, but the children get out and they're with the Atreides family and they're kind of like exiles, and we see what that does to them and to their family. I don't know. This was just fun geek stuff. I really enjoyed the Dune world, and I really, really enjoyed going back into that universe and, finding out more about these characters who weren't in the books, or if they were in the books, where they came from and what led to them. Learning more, like I said, about the Bene Gesserit, the Spacing Guild, the whole world. Also, I forgot to talk about, we have a lot of this book takes part in the Emperor. It takes place with two emperors, and then we have all the scheming people in the court and how they work together, and then how court happens, and then how courtesans are brought in, and just all of this background to this world, which I found really, really fascinating. So I'm falling on the side where I do appreciate these books. I appreciate what they're doing. Do they hold up to the actual Dune books? No, but I do appreciate that the Son and Brian Sanderson, they really tried to keep the style going. So they would each introduce each chapter throughout all three books with quotes from different people, just like Frank Herbert did, that would kind of point the way that the information or the story was going to take in that chapter. I found it fascinating. Was, like I said before, it's hard, not to parallel Game of Thrones. Like, Game of Thrones is probably one of the greatest fantasy books I've ever read. I'm not big into fantasy, but those books hooked me in. I loved them. And you would have this great chapter about one character, and then boom, you'd be hooked, and then they would shift it over to another character, and you'd be like, damn, I want to read more about that. But then you get hooked with that character until finally, boom, you'd be hooked, and then dang, he'd move on. The writers did something similar here. They would get you going in the narrative, and then they would switch topics and go on to the next, and you'd be like, I want to find out what happened. And they kept this going for 3 rather large novels. So the books, the listening experience, like, I think there were 24 hours, 25 hours, and 27 hours for the 3 books. And yes, there are flaws, and yes, you can nitpick, and yes, people online have been saying, well, I don't like the way they did this or way they did that. I mean, nothing's going to be perfect, I think, unless you spend multiple years on something. And that's where you get, I think, the rub here. So Frank Herbert, right, he probably worked very hard and crafted these novels, whereas these books are kind of being pumped out one after the other, year by year. And so I would say that if these two actually spent a few years on each book, you could really hone them into something much more powerful than what they are. But for what they are, I do recommend these books. I think they are a lot of fun, and they just provide more background and insight into this already created world. And I think that's it. I think I covered everything. Man, I can't believe this is an hour and 15 minutes. I'm kind of ashamed of myself. I'm just rambling on and on. Please, if there's something I did in this episode that you really didn't like, I don't mind you saying, like, if you didn't like me going over those comics in depth, or if you didn't like me going over the art or anything like that, please let me know, because I will take that into consideration and probably ignore it like I do. But no, that's not true. I do listen to the comments, and it's, even though I do this for myself, I do listen to what people have to say. So I'm going to go ahead and finally turn off, say goodbye to this, and then get on with my puzzling weekend. I want to thank all of you for the support. And let me say, if you watched all the way to the end of this, let's put in the comments dividend on death. Or you could just write dividend. Or you know what? Or you could choose the corpse came calling. Up to you. All right. Again, thank you all for the support.